Picture a 12-year-old boy who has never spent a day in school, yet he looks at a raw block of stone and flawlessly chisels it into a $25,000 sculpture. Now picture a corporate executive with a wall full of straight A degrees, sitting at a desk completely miserable because they have no idea what actually brings them joy. If we measure intelligence purely by standard exams, the executive is a genius and the boy is a failure. Our education system evaluates children almost exclusively on their ability to act as human calculators or spelling bees. Because of this narrow definition, well-meaning parents end up punishing their children for simply struggling to memorize their basic multiplication tables. They look at a kid who doesn't fit the strict academic mold and label them unintelligent, crushing their self-esteem in the process. Judging every human mind by a single universal academic metric is a broken scale. It actively destroys raw potential. There are forms of brilliance that a standardized test simply cannot register. Take the tribal children in dense forest regions. They can safely navigate alone across dangerous jungles that highly trained government officers routinely fail to cross. Or look at extreme physical coordination. When practitioners execute the lightning-fast strikes and parries of Kalaripayattu, an ancient martial art, they are making hundreds of split-second geometric and spatial calculations. Intelligence lives in the friction between a person and their environment, appearing in ways a written logic test can't capture. This realization led psychologist Dr. Howard Gardner to entirely reject the concept of a standard IQ score. Working out of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Gardner observed how terribly narrow our definition of human capability had become. In his landmark book, Frames of Mind, he proposed a radically different model. He argued that human cognition does not exist as a single, unified score. Instead, it splinters into 8 entirely distinct categories. Every child possesses a unique, uneven profile of these intelligences. Under this framework, the goal is no longer to figure out how smart your kid is on a scale of 1 to 100. The goal is to figure out which type of smart they are. First is linguistic intelligence, or word smart. These are children with a vast vocabulary and a natural command of language. They curate their words carefully, making them highly effective journalists, lawyers, and authors. Next is logical mathematical intelligence, or number smart. These kids love finding patterns, counting digits, and solving complex logic puzzles. They are your future engineers, coders, and research scientists. Then we have spatial intelligence, or visual smart. Send this person into a room once and they can instantly recall its exact dimensions. This intuitive spatial mapping makes them brilliant architects, interior designers, and pilots. Fourth is bodily kinesthetic intelligence, or body smart. These children possess extreme brain-to-muscle coordination. When they can't sit still in a classroom, they shouldn't be punished. They are simply processing the world through movement. At the highest levels, this translates into physical genius. Athletes, dancers, and even surgeons rely heavily on this elite kinesthetic processing. Fifth is musical intelligence. These children instinctively understand complex beats, rhythms, and tones. They can pick up a flute and figure out the exact fingering for a melody in days, destined to be composers and singers. When you recognize these specific traits early, you stop fighting against your child's natural wiring. You stop scolding the kinesthetic kid for fidgeting and start developing the specific strengths they already have. Sixth is interpersonal intelligence, or people smart. These individuals possess deep empathy. You tell them one fraction of your problem, and they immediately understand the rest. This emotional intuition makes them highly effective counselors, teachers, and managers. Seventh is intrapersonal intelligence, or self-smart. This is profound self-awareness. These people know exactly what brings them joy, what frustrates them, and what they truly want out of life. Those who build their careers on this deep internal understanding often become renowned philosophers and authors. They can articulate the human condition because they understand their own so well. Finally, we have naturalistic intelligence, or nature smart. These kids can look at a field and instantly identify the crop, or feel the wind and predict the rain. They thrive as botanists, farmers, and veterinarians. When you evaluate a child using this 8-part playbook, you realize something crucial. It becomes practically impossible to label any child as unintelligent. The intense friction we see at home happens when we treat raising kids like forcing a square peg into a round hole. We try to force a linguistically gifted child down the career path of a mathematical engineer. Copying societal trends, like forcing an unsuited child into advanced coding or competitive sports simply because the neighbors are doing it, creates avoidable friction and burnout. As a parent, your primary job must transition. You have to stop being a rigid enforcer of academic standards and start acting as a careful observer of your child. Watch what they naturally gravitate toward. If their talents exist entirely outside of traditional school subjects, those are the exact skills you need to actively encourage and nurture. Success begins when we stop evaluating a child against a class ranking and start identifying the specific genius they already possess. Helping them build a life around that natural talent is the real objective.